Signore e signori, abbiamo più influenza, sui tuoi figli di te, ma li amiamo creato e iniziato da noi. Jersey. Last week today lived, presentato da Philtastic, comics and art.
Let's fucking go.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land, Facebookville, or the Twitterverse, or Xverse, I guess you could say now. I'm never going to get that right. That's just how it is. It's your good buddy Philtastic here. I've got my co-host, MT. How you doing, buddy? Welcome back to the channel. We are wrapping up MT's breakfast, so there's a little bit of a delay here, but we're going to soldier through. He's having his eggs and toast. I've got a little bit of toast myself here too. And that's the kind of morning we're having. But we're just going to eat on camera. I promise I'm not going to try to show you what's in my mouth because that's a little gross. And we have a guest waiting as well. But before we get to that, let's see who's hanging out. Las Cruces, hooray. Hooray and woohoo. That's a great start to a stream, I think. Hooray and woohoo. And Wellbore is here. How are you, sir? Just getting a little bit of water in here. I don't drink enough water. The Uncanny D-Man, David. How are you, sir? Making sure he's chewing well. There you go, buddy. One of the new skills that we're working on is how we do there. Our guest, Brian, is here. How are you? Hello from New Mexico, of course. Kenneth is here. Let's see here. Okay, everybody checking in, and I'm caught up already. Okay. Yeah, it's been a bit of a chaotic week here, but we made it. I'm going to mention this again at the end of the show. Just a reminder, there's no show next week. Why? Friday is my anniversary. It'll be our 7-year anniversary. Where'd you get that? How are you, Cody? Sunday is my birthday, and Monday is Memorial Day. So I figure, you know what? I'm gonna take a weekend off of YouTube, off of streaming, even watching things. That's my gift to myself, just peace and quiet. I might even just shut my phone down for the whole weekend. I don't quite know yet. I'm sure if I do, there will be a couple people, of course, but why did you do that? How was I going to call you? It's like, look, you know, it's 2024. You know, if God forbid there is some kind of emergency, I'm sure you would find a way. Okay. And at this point, he's wearing almost as much food as he's eating. Just the play-by-play. I know that's fascinating. So, we had a big week too. X-Men 97 finale was done. I was blown away. My wife, you know, you're going to have to go ahead and check out the last video that we did if you want more information on that. We are looking at new things to watch. Some things that are, yeah, you said it right, David. My wife said, what can I get you? What can I get you? And you have to understand that we're a one-income household. So it's like, I don't need anything. If I need something, I go and buy it. But 9 times out of 10, my paycheck has been mostly baby formula or diapers, and that's just the way it's supposed to be. So it's just like, just give me like 3 hours to watch Josh Gates because I'm really far behind, and I'll be fine. Just let me fall asleep on the couch if I want to, watch some Josh Gates, and we'll be good. That's all I want. I even said, look, one thing that we kind of run into is because, again, our wedding anniversary is 2 days before my birthday. You know, we usually get like a cake overload. So I was like, look, do me a favor. We'll pick one cake. Okay? I don't want diabetes for my birthday at this point. One cake. And we have a busy month next month along those same lines. So it's, you know, it's just kind of playing a little bit. Excuse me 1 second. I'm going to cut this up a little bit. And then I'm going to let our guest in because I feel like I'm being a rude host now. I've got him sitting out on the porch now for a little bit. Luckily, it's not raining today. But let's go ahead and get him in here. And, and hello,
Good
Ryan.
morning.
How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I
Okay.
was just before our show, as we're prepping, my son and I were both watching your anachronic comics of comic book knowledge. Let's get it
Oh,
right again.
nice.
Yeah, we were starting to get into your guys' feelings on Spider-Man. I was getting really into it. I was like, oh, we got to start the show soon.
Yeah, it was a good discussion with Gary and Joe last night. So yeah, it was good.
And I'm so pissed that I missed it live. I haven't been able to watch a whole lot of live things because my son sees a live show and he immediately thinks Blippi's coming on. So I've literally 3 times I was going on Gary's show, like, hey, everybody. And a minute in, as you know, with kids, a 2-year-old starts freaking out. So, I was like, all right, guys, got to go. But we're not here to talk Spidey. I guess if you want to talk Spidey, we can. We got an hour. We could stretch it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
But
I got to see. I've been backstage and I got to see. Phil first came on and he didn't have a hat on, and I was like, wait a minute, he's going to do a show without a hat?
Yeah. You know what? I've been kind of lax with the hat lately. You're all done, buddy? Okay. 1 second. I want to get his water. Yeah. Be right back.
Mike's in the chat. X11. Good to see you guys. Good morning. Cody's here.
This is going to be the true test if he sits and watches and drinks his water, because usually he won't do that without a distraction here. And Mike came in. Oh, he's pushing me away already. Okay. We'll give him a minute. You don't want to behave in front of everybody, buddy? Everybody's watching you. Scotty's here too.
Yeah, Scott. X11 Bravo came in. Cody's here. Where'd you get that?
11, yeah. I know. I've been good about not wearing my hat a couple times just because laziness. It also it's been, I know that you're down in the South now, but it's been progressively really hot and then really cold here. It doesn't want to make up its mind. So sometimes it's just too hot to put the hat on. But hold on, buddy. You want potato head? I love when my wife sleeps in on Saturdays.
You get to do everything while she sleeps.
While doing this.
Yes.
Okay, buddy.
That's a good juggling act.
Well, we're gonna find out how good it is. All right, potato head. Okay, there you go.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could have handled a live stream when my kids were young and my wife wasn't home.
Realistically, I know that this is going to end at some point, but until that point, because I'm just very, what's the word I'm looking for? Hard-headed with that, I guess you could say. It's basically on until it blows up. The best way to look at it.
Until chaos ensues.
Exactly. But let's talk about a little project that you've been working on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your Kickstarter, which congratulations for being funded. I think last week when I was coming on, I was like, he's only $200 away. And somebody's like, oh no, he just hit it. I was like, he just hit it. Great.
Yeah, no, it's been, so we're about two weeks in and, fully funded, and we're actually about more than halfway to our first stretch goal. So, can't thank the community enough. I've said it a few times now. I mean, I wasn't, I figured the community would jump on board, so I'm not overly surprised, but I'm still surprised because, when you throw something out there and there's money involved, right? You never know how it's going to go and how it's going to be received. So, truly, like I said, it's a little bit of both, right? I figured the community would embrace it, but you just never know.
Yeah.
So it's been it's been a nice surprise. But yeah, so I can't thank everybody enough. I'm kind of making the tour here. I'm doing a bunch of different shows over the next couple of weeks, and a lot of people have been talking about it and sharing it and all that stuff. So yeah, really happy and excited about it. So
Well,
but yeah,
I may interject. I know that you do a lot for the comic book community, and you don't. And when I say that too, like we know that you're not doing it to say, "Oh, hey, Brian is doing," just to so people know that you're doing a lot. You do it because that's what you want to do, and it's a way of supporting everybody and really kind of reeling everybody in. And the way I see it, because I know that you wouldn't accept an award last year, I think this is kind of like, all right, well, he wouldn't let us do this, so let's do that.
right.
But yeah, I mean, because I'll be honest with you, like, I made a joke last week, but it was like, all right, all of a sudden, okay, Gary pops up with something, you've got something, Doug's got isolation going. I know that
Yeah.
Joe's spreading something. It's almost like the those like hard seltzers. One day there's none, the next day there's 40 of them.
Yeah,
But
we put the pressure on Joe a little bit last night because Gary and I were on, so he was feeling a little pressure, like, oh, maybe I need to. And he's got a story. He was saying that he's kind of been outlining and writing a little bit about his dad, and so he was thinking about maybe trying to finish that up. But it was fun to see him squirm a little.
you know what? I feel like almost everybody who collects has a story inside of them. Because how many times you used to read something like, "Oh, I could have done better than this, and I could have done better than that," and whether it's good or not, and I say that knowing that the doctor will be very good. I'm not, doing that. Even sometimes just getting to the finish line and putting something out is huge. I'll give you an example. Like I'm a huge, to take it out of comics for a second, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan. Okay.
Okay.
He's had some solid films in his repertoire, if you will. You could tell the coffee's kicking in because why would I say or if not? But you have then those like yoga hosers and it's the one where the guy turns himself into a wall or gets turned into a walrus.
Yeah, and it was funny. Somebody, I think it was on Mark's channel, Legion of Comics, yesterday. They were talking about that the Kevin Smith. What it's with his daughter or Johnny Depp's daughter or somebody starring in it.
Yeah. I'll say this because I've seen that on Netflix a couple times. There are some things that they nail on it, but you have to kind of go into it thinking, all right, this is going to be a dumpster fire. There is a story, and a lot of people. What part would you like next? What do you need next? Are you taking it out? You're done with it already? Okay. Ooh, that's usually a 20-minute toy. There are elements of it that when that, not the most recent. Which one, buddy? You putting it away? Yes or no? You don't have to put it away. You could play longer. We'll see what he's doing. Okay. Not the most recent entry, but that Ghostbusters movies, The Afterlife. I haven't seen it yet, but you saw in the commercial, so there's no spoiler. The little miniature Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And there's a part where in this film they have little possessed Nazi sausage men running around. It's like, okay. But I'll say this, it nails to me what it kind of feels like when I ask my younger siblings about social media. Like I realize now I'll be 45 in next week. And I've kind of realized like, okay, this is my limit as far as tech goes. No matter how many times Instagram gets me to sign up for Thread, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not there. Watching them interact, it's like that. This feels like a social media, just screen, like somebody scrolling the whole time.
Right.
But also say this: Johnny Depp is in it. He has a small part in it, and it's a very unusual part, but it's hilarious and so well done.
It wasn't even on my radar until I heard them mention it yesterday. So, and I enjoyed Kevin's, Clerks. I saw Clerks and his early movies. So I was a little surprised, like not even on my radar. I don't think I've ever even heard of it until yesterday. So
The only films of him I haven't seen yet was it the Red State? I haven't watched yet, and the most was it Clerks 3? I haven't seen yet. Everything else I've seen.
Clerks 3. Yeah, I don't think I've seen Clerks 3.
Yeah, it came out. I want to say like maybe last year, the year before, and he was doing it like a roadshow kind of style release.
Okay.
And it hasn't. I think it was on Prime for a very short amount of time. And as you may know, when trying to watch something with your significant other, sometimes it's a bit of a exchange. Do you like this? Do you like that? And
Right. Oh yeah.
our exchange did not get into Clerks 3 in time before it went to a pay service. And I'm the type of person that I refuse. We have enough streaming services where I refuse to just pay for a pay-per-view at this point.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's enough other content to watch. Right.
Exactly. Like we're trying to finish Monarchy and Sugar just so I could drop Apple, hopefully, maybe just so there's one less streaming.
Right. Yeah.
Streaming.
One less membership per month. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. So why don't you tell us about the Doctor?
So yeah, it's kind of an idea I've had for a little while. I have kind of a I an idea will hit me, a story idea or a character idea, and I'm always jotting down notes. And so I had a few that could have potentially been the first book, but I like the idea of the Doctor because he's a character, a psychiatrist who helps superpowered superheroes, or he'll help anybody really, but that helps them migrate through the daily stuff that we all deal with, right? Everyday life type stuff. Because when you think of a superhero, right? I mean, maybe Spider-Man deals with, you see the slice of life with Spider-Man with him not being able to pay the rent and things like that. But typically, you don't see a lot of the the normal day-to-day stuff. And so my idea was, I want to do something superhero based, but with a different kind of spin on it, take on it. And so, and part of the idea too with the community about people talking about mental health and reaching out and being supportive of one another if somebody's going through some stuff. I kind of like that idea, and then kind of put it into a superhero story. And so it's kind of where it came from.
So let me ask you. I know that, and to be honest, I agree. I think that when you have those stories that even if it's not the focus of it, but it seems to humanize these characters. Spider-Man's had his couple moments. I don't know about during Zeb Wells' run, but I can tell you there were a couple times I think during Slott's run I was kind of like, and Straczynski's to a different extent. And even like if you read something like a Superman for All Seasons, you see that humanization factor, and it makes the books that much more better and makes you feel about those characters just so much more.
Yeah, a little bit of a better connection with them, right? Because it's when you we don't have superpowers, so it's sometimes it's tough to relate to some of the things that they're doing or dealing with. So
let me ask you, without giving any kind of spoilers or anything, because the book of course is not out yet. Oh, you want his hat? Okay, here you go. Sorry, potato head break. What's the tone of the book? Is it a more kind of serious tone, like we've seen, like with say like a Heroes in Crisis?
Yeah, it's definitely more serious tone, but I want to balance the seriousness with some good old fashioned action, right? And try to keep it balanced that way. I don't think you want, at least I don't want to write something that's just heavy dialogue and not much to look at visually, right? If we just have characters discussing things or talking, there's only so much you can do on a comic book panel. So I want to try to interweave, some of the superhero stuff, the action fights, dealing with bad guys, and then the story. So that was my approach with issue one, and I have issues 2 and 3 outlined, and so I want to keep that kind of throughout throughout the entire story.
So, and I apologize for again being a little all over.
No, it's all right.
What did you find, coming as somebody who's read comics for a long time, to be the most daunting part of this entire process? What?
Yeah, I think really, sometimes you, as a writer, or when you're trying to tell a story, you have things that you understand, right? Because you're writing it, you're creating it, but it's being able to translate that to somebody who's has no knowledge of any of the characters, and just making sure you're not missing some of the details. I finished the script and did a couple rewrites and cleaned it up and sent it out to a few community members, Evil Mike and Taylor Winder. I sent it to them because they read a lot and do a lot of reviews, and so I figured they would be a good judge of story and script and to just give me feedback. So I think that was, that's one of the things, because I'm really working on it by myself from a story perspective, to have some feedback early on and make sure it's making sense to the reader, because obviously in my mind it makes sense because I'm creating the whole thing. So, but if there's some finer point that maybe I'm missing in the storytelling that doesn't make sense to the reader. So that was kind of one of the one of the initial challenges, but I got good feedback from Mike and Taylor, so it was that was really helpful.
Yeah, I mean that's key as well. Did you seek any feedback from any non-comic book readers at any point?
No, I didn't. I didn't with issue one. No, I didn't. I don't even think I considered it to have somebody else read it. But I mean, from a script perspective, it reads like it would read like you don't necessarily need the visuals. There is a little, obviously description in the story to be able to help give the artists some prompts. So yeah, I could give it to somebody who's non comic book and see if it makes sense from a storytelling perspective.
I think BTC just gave you a great byline for your next issue. A book by the community for the community.
For the community, yeah.
That's good. Get it before he trademarks it. What's up, pal? You got your cars here. You had mentioned watching, again, Joe's appearance just literally a few minutes before this. You mentioned that you had done some writing work back in college. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I studied film and television production in college. So my ultimate, and actually before college, in high school, my high school actually had a video program. So part of their art department, I was always kind of always took art classes through like middle school and high school. And our high school had a video production basically class, and so I took that in, I think, 11th and 12th grade, and so I really got hooked into creating video and doing things like that, and I really wanted to work in the film industry. That was my goal in end of high school and going into college, and so I took film, television classes, a lot of screenwriting classes, and so I was writing. I had to write scripts for class, but then I started writing feature length screenplays. I have 4 or 5 screenplays that I did when I was in college, and I wrote a couple like spec episodes with a friend. We did an episode. We wrote an episode of Seinfeld back in the day. Just it never went anywhere, but we wrote an episode. I wrote an episode of NYPD Blue. Again, it didn't go anywhere, but I had that script that I wrote because it was a TV show that I watched and enjoyed. And actually for a little while out of college, when I graduated, I actually picked up I had a literary agent out in Hollywood for a little while, for about a year. My scripts never went anywhere. Um, and then and then life got in the way, right? I met my wife, we got married, we had kids. I found a job in initially in television production, but then it kind of morphed more into the IT side, and then I really kind of went on the IT side. And now almost 25, 30 years later, now I'm coming back to coming back to writing finally. So
But I think that it tells me a couple different things. First of all, these things that we're drawn to, writing and comics. If it's
mm,
true in you, I truly believe it never really leaves you. Excuse me for a second. Okay. Got shapes, and we got the train. Which one? Train. Um, yeah, I took a lot of screenwriting. I was trying to at one point get into film production myself, and I took a lot of screenwriting classes in college and after college. But it was always for me, like, you sit down, like, all right, class is over, I can write something. I don't want to write. Okay, let's do something else. So, and that's kind of goes into what I was saying before. People don't realize, like, sometimes it's just the act of writing something, putting it out, getting it done, that look, if you could get there, you're already, I think, heads and shoulders above the game.
right, yeah. Yeah, just getting the ideas down, even, and that's what I mentioned to Joe last night. I said, Joe, because he was saying he was struggling to finish up the story, and because of other things going on, life and chores and social life and things like that. And I said, well, maybe just try to write an outline, get an outline down, so that at least you have your ideas down on, some form down on paper, and then maybe that'll help you, spark the desire to finish it if you kind of have it outlined. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with. I've interviewed him before, and it's kind of one of those. Hold on. What's up now? Come on. Where's the? Was this one not attached? Hold on. Okay. It's Pat from Legacy Comics. And I bring him up as this is a guy who he puts out books like crazy. And I asked him, like, what do you just do? And he's like, I just sit down whenever you can, and just go for it. I know that one issue of Conjury, I think he said he wrote while he was rocking his son to sleep on his phone.
oh jeez.
And if you've read, some legacy comics, some of them are not the longest books. Some of them, like very early issues, like the issue zeros, are only 8 pages long. But he said, yeah, sometimes that's all you need to get started, and then you just start going from there.
Right.
Yeah. Kind of funny because he's one of those people. I'm sure that you probably get more than me. You get people reaching out like, hey, I have a book coming out. Do you want to preview it? And usually, at least in my experiences, you preview it, whether you like it or not, you never hear from the person again. Pat, I feel like I've made actually a good friend with just from saying, yeah, okay, I'll read your book.
Yeah, no, I do definitely get a bunch of people that reach out, but yeah, I've had kind of 50-50, right? Sometimes where you get something and then you don't hear from them again, or, where they'll follow up. And, I've interviewed a few on my channel as well. So, a few writers and creators. So, yeah.
Yeah. But getting back to the doctor, what were some of the early challenges that you met? Let's say, all right, well, I guess take me through it. Did you have everything written first, or was it kind of more of a gradual process?
No, the script didn't take me that long to, because I've had the idea in my head and kind of had an outline down. And then when I actually sat down to write it, I actually wrote it pretty, in a couple days. Because I think it was because I hadn't done any writing in some time. So it was fun to kind of get back into creating the story and the script. But there is a lot of there's a lot of brain power spent on, because I'm creating something brand new. There's a lot of, you have to do kind of a full write up on all the characters, their age, their background, coming up with all the backstories.
Mm.
So there's three main characters in the story, and so I really had to kind of define, who they were and where they've come from. And then there's some secondary characters too in the story that I need to kind of now flesh that out. So there's a lot of work that goes on beyond just writing the script. You're basically creating this, these characters in this universe basically. So there's a lot of kind of back work that you're doing to be able to get to the point where you can write the story. And so
Mm.
um, that wasn't a challenge. I don't think it was a challenge. It's just time consuming to make sure you get everything down, and obviously dealing with superheroes, dealing with their how they got their powers or what their power set is, and things like that. So definitely a lot of kind of behind the scenes stuff that has to happen to be able to get to the point where you can write the script.
Ryan, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Hold on. Pulling back up.
Check in with the chat. We got a few other people joined us. Let's see. Callie and Jordan, David, good morning. BTC is here. Bottom tier, Joe. Adventurous Joe. Bird the Nerd is here. Good morning. Casino Comics. Dope joined us. Good morning. Gene is here too. Chris, son of a Bruce. Good morning. Appreciate everybody being here. Jerry's here. Good morning, Jerry. Excellent, bravo. Give the kid a balloon and a baby raccoon. Yes. If you missed David's comment, Uncanny D-Man, Fanboy Prime was MIA this morning, but somebody was filling in for him.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad that you said that, because I tuned in for a little bit. I'm going to take this for a second. And I was confused what was going on. Because I was like, I know that's... Did he have to go to the bathroom or something?
No, he just... I don't think he was working, or he couldn't make the stream, but they put in a Fanboy Prime dummy to sit in.
No, like one thing I've been... And it kind of struck me as one thing I was thinking about doing, because again, I thought he just like went to the bathroom or something. I watch, other than comic book stuff on YouTube, there is a legal analyst I watch, and she does a great job with a lot of the cases that are going on and whatnot. Currently, she's doing that case in Mass. I don't know if you're familiar, where the police officer's girlfriend is being accused of hitting him.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, no, look into it. It's a whole thing, and the state has pretty much, I think, botched the investigation.
Oh, wow.
One thing, and like I like to watch a lot of these other things too, because I pick up a lot of production tips, I think. And I noticed that she has a screen that she pops up when she's got to like get out, because if she's sometimes streaming a whole trial, so she'll be on for 4 hours, 6 hours at a time.
Right.
She'll put up like a little thing like, hey, I'll be back in a second. Just like a little kind of waiting screen, basically.
Okay.
But walk me through, after you had the script in, what was it like just assembling the whole artist and colorist and whatnot?
So I leveraged, I talked a lot to Doug Bratton and Brandon from Dismay Comics, because Brandon has done a number of Kickstarters. He's got a number of self-published books. And then obviously Doug, with his writing background and history with Isolation, I leveraged them a lot. I had asked a lot of questions about, script and artist and things like that. And so they both gave me some tips. Doug actually mentioned the Hubert School to reach out and see if you could, there are artists there that are in the school and looking for work, inexpensively. And then Brandon had mentioned there are a number of Facebook groups that are basically artists and colorists and um, writers who are looking for help on their projects. And so I did both. I reached out to the Kubert School and did some work in the Facebook groups, and basically, had a big response, because if you throw up a request for paid work, you're typically going to get a lot of responses. And so and then it was just weeding through. It's kind of like an interview process, right? Weeding through all of the people that responded and looking at their work and um, understanding what their cost was and what the payment would be. There's some scammers out there, so you need to be careful, because they'll want, oh, I want full payment up front without
Really?
ever producing anything. So kind of steer clear of those folks. Um, but it was kind of like trying to look at their style of art, see if it fit what I wanted, and it was basically like I said, like an interview process, and settled in on an artist. I had him do some character design first, just to see, taking what I thought the characters would look like in my head. Could he, replicate that? And sending the thing I did was I would send them some.
He hasn't drank any water. Sorry, I lost you for a second. We were.
That's okay. So I sent some reference photos to the artist, and then they came up with the character design, and then I was happy with the character design, and then we went to just doing a single page of the comic, the first page of the script, just to make sure that it looked and felt like I expected. And he did a good job with that. And then we moved on to basically blocks of 5 pages. And I would, pay the artist like half up front. He'd get the pages done, and I'd pay him the rest for the completed work. So, there's a pretty large community within these Facebook groups. There's like 2, or at least 2. I know there's more, but the groups have 20,000 people in the groups. So there's a wide range of, writers, colorists, pencils, just cover artists, character design. I mean, you can find, there are lots of resources out there looking for work.
When you were looking at some of these designs, was it something you were looking just for a feel, or was it just generally like, hey, yeah, this is it?
I mean, there's certainly a lot of different styles, right? You have more cartoony, more manga style art, more anime style. I was kind of looking for just kind of a traditional, kind of Marvel, DC style work. So that was the biggest thing. There were some really talented artists, but they just weren't my style. And so, yeah, and then you have to look at cost too, because you'd be surprised. You can get artists can charge. If you have overseas artists that are not in the United States, you can find them to work a little bit less expensive. But I mean, you can pay upwards of several $100s for a page of comic art. So if you're doing a full 24 pages, or 30 pages of art, it can get very expensive to be able to produce, an independent single book. If you're at $300 a page and you're doing 20 pages, you're at $6,000 for just the artwork. So you have to kind of keep that in mind as well. And so I found an artist that I was happy with the style, and his page rates weren't that expensive, that I could self-fund it up front. Because that was one of the tips I got about, a lot of Kickstarters are waiting for the funding from the Kickstarter to actually complete the book, which is fine to do, but there's just going to be a delay in the turnaround time when you can actually print the book and deliver the book. And so I was able to go with a lower cost option, and be able to produce the book up front. And then, I'm using the Kickstarter to help fund the printing of it, and then further, future issues. So it's just kind of an approach that Brandon had mentioned to me, and I like that idea because I know I've backed some Kickstarters where they say, "All right, the campaign's complete. Now we actually have to work on the book," and it could be 6, 8 months. It could be a long lead time by the time you actually get the book in hand. So,
And I'll say this: kudos to you for not going the AI route. No, it's just I know that it's a difficult subject, I guess. Though I'd have to say, I think our community is pretty much on the same page. I could be wrong, but I remember it's got to be a couple months ago at this point. I was watching a live show where they were interviewing a creator. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just going all AI with my comics." Like, okay, well, I don't know that I need to read that. I understand the cost perspective, but from the craft perspective, I think it's a little bit different.
yeah, I mean, I certainly I used AI just to come up with throwing in a character idea. I want a character who's 25 years old and has red hair and is muscular, and so just to kind of give me a sense of maybe what a character would look like, and really just from my brainstorming piece of it. But and then I could take a composite of that and then say, oh no, I want him to look like this, or and so then I could kind of take that and use that as a reference for the artist for them to draw something. So I mean, I think there are some applications that you could use it for. Like I said, from a brainstorming perspective, it was a tool that I certainly have used, but I would never want to create something. I'd rather I want to see the artist interpretation, and I have a couple different covers that I've used. So 3 different artists did covers, so you just see the variety in the artwork and the style, and so
I think you did nail it, because I do think that AI in itself is a good tool. I mean, I could tell you, look, if you've seen any, I want to say like behind the scenes of like how Alex Ross plots his lighting and everything, he goes through this extensive process of actually making a figure in some cases. Like that last Fantastic Four book, he basically made, I don't know, dozens of just his own little action figures. Like he didn't go
right,
to Walmart or anything. No, he made these things and did all the lighting. And I remember him even going back and showing some of his older works. He actually had used actual photographs of him and his friend just to get the stuff like the lighting down. I
right.
guy would be great in that, but I think the problem is someone came along and said, "Well, this doesn't need to be a tool. I can just use this to make the work, and hey, now I'm an artist." And it's like, nah, it doesn't quite go that way.
Right, right.
The
Yeah, if
thing,
you're just typing in text into into a box, and then the image is being auto created for you. Yeah, that's not art in my mind. So,
I do
but
think,
to answer Sid's question,
yeah,
so yeah, I mean, once the campaign is successful and reach 100% funds, and once it's over, Kickstarter basically will send me the funds, whatever's there, and then I can use those. Um, you know, I can use them however I want. There's no restriction from that point. But so yeah, my goal would be I have to pay for the printing yet. So and that depending on how many copies and things like that, that could be um, you know several $100s to get the book printed, and then my goal really is then to start funding the next project with whatever's left, right? Because part of the funding within Kickstarter is um, the shipping too, right? Because when you back a Kickstarter, you pay for whatever reward you select, and then there's shipping. If there's a physical book, you have to pay the person who's supporting it pays for their shipping, and so there's that piece of it as well that I have to cover the cost for shipping all of the books out, but that'll come from from the Kickstarter funds as well. So
yeah. Now, and that from, again, I've never done like personally, but just hearing what Doug and Reggie had to go through with isolation, I can understand where the printing and the shipping Sounds like it's going to be maybe the most expensive part of it, and certainly one of the most intensive parts of it as well.
Yeah, I think the shipping. I mean, the printing. Right, initially, you just have to make sure that everything looks as expected. That you're following the printing guidelines, so that you don't have any art or lettering outside of the printable area and those type of things. But yeah, then you have to get the books in and then ship them all out. I mean, obviously, I've sent books to people before, so from a shipping standpoint, it should be relatively easy. Gemini mailer and packing books properly. I think just making sure that the book is printed, but the printer will send you a proof. Will send you a single copy of the book. A proof to make sure that everything looks as you expect. So,
Hmm.
um, that potentially could lead some delay in if there's changes that are needed once the proof is printed, but.
Is so is the Doctor going to be a self-contained story, or do you have an idea for? Is it going to be something ongoing, or is it going to be a limited series? What's your
I think
and
the
for?
Doctor will be this will be kind of a three issue story. But I am introducing other characters that I could see, you know, spinning off to do other stories within the Doctor, and then I think he could be a character that could show up. I mean, I'm thinking of it more of creating maybe it sounds ambitious, but kind of like my own little universe here, right? With uh, uh, a stable of characters that I could then use in future projects. So
The LCSU.
you're right.
Kind of college, I guess. So what? Now I know that the Kickstarter is still going on for. Well, how much more time do you have? And is it? Here's going to be my little tease. Is it too late for people to get involved with it?
No, no, not at all. So there's 2 weeks left. The Kickstarter. So I set it initially for a month. I wasn't sure how long to run it, but I figured that would give me plenty of time to promote it and go on other people's streams, other people's channels to be able to promote it. But really, for me, it's been a learning experience, understanding the nuts and bolts of how long do you run a Kickstarter for. All the ins and outs of Kickstarter, because this is really the first time I've ever run one. But yeah, so there's 2 weeks left. So yeah, you can get in, and like I said, hopefully I'll have a very quick turnaround, because once the campaign ends, I'm going to work with the printer right away, and hopefully be able to turn the books around relatively quickly, get them in people's hands. So, and I'm excited. I'm excited to actually physically have the book. I printed out my own little copy here at home, double sided, and stapled them up to make it feel like a book. And so it's exciting to have this in my hands, but to actually have a printed comic book with the cover and the back cover and everything will be will be fun.
Oh, Six Face. You know what? That's a good point. I didn't put up a link. I don't know. I don't think I saw Trev here yet this morning.
I can drop it. I have it.
Yeah, if you don't mind, go ahead and put it in. I mean, if not too, I mean, go right to Brian's Instagram page, or even just go to Kickstarter and type in the Doctor. Well, here, Brian actually just put it
Yep,
in.
just dropped in. But yeah, if you search the Doctor on Kickstarter, it should the Doctor. It should come right up.
And I'll say this too, by the way. I mean, I know you said this is your first time with Kickstarter, and I've looked at things too, just imagining, hey, how would you go about launching a Kickstarter, something like that? And the fact that you've got funded relatively quickly, I think says a whole lot. There, how many projects have died on the vine just because it quite hasn't quite gotten there.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's really just about promoting it, right? And having if you try to launch something without kind of having some type of following, whether it's on Instagram or YouTube or some type of community around you, I think that's probably why things fail, is because you really need to have that. If I tried to do this day one of when I came on YouTube, it probably would have never been funded, right? Because I haven't built any relationships with anybody within the community, and so now at this point, 3 years in, and having a place within the community, it made it that much that much easier. And then people just community members jumped on. Mark, Legion of Comics helped promote it. A number of people within the community, and you have inviting me on. I mean, I've had so many people reach out to me to say, hey, when do you want to come on? Come on my live stream and we can talk about it. So it's been it's been really positive, from the support perspective.
Yeah, I mean, look, if everybody's jumping at the opportunity to give the to have the Godfather owe them a favor for once. The rush to troll Becker helped a lot too.
Yes, yeah, that was one of the. So one of the rewards is that you can basically have your logo or little something in the back of the book, in the back cover, and so there was this movement to troll Beckerman on that in their sayings, or that gained steam very quickly.
Hold on, let me see. We're just going a full tour of the house today.
A quiet room.
Yes, yeah. Okay. And thanks everybody, by the way, for sticking through. Childcare issues. And okay, yeah, this is. I'm just gonna stand. So, what? I know that you have a lot going on, especially with the Kickstarter. What else is going on, especially? I mean, again, big YouTube channel, and you have CBCA right around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, just trying to be consistent on my channel, YouTube channel, creating content. We still doing the weekly live stream. I have my live breakfast with Brian tomorrow. Now it's on Sundays, and then the CBC Awards. Today we're 4 weeks away from open nominations opening. It's June 15th. So, I mean, a lot of the heavy lifting from the CBC Awards is kind of done at this point. Now it's just kind of sitting back and promoting it and collecting the nominations. And then we'll get, once the nominations are done and finalists come out, then it'll get a little bit more, it'll get busier again near the end of the finalist voting to get everything ready to announce the winners. But, at this point, it's the CBC Awards are kind of, I kind of just sit back and just continue to promote it. So it's not too intense, at this point.
And this is my second year on the committee. I feel like you're getting more and more people willing to say, hey, let me lend a hand, or here's a suggestion, rather than
No, it's been good. A lot more feedback. We added a few new committee members this year that have been very helpful. Different perspective from different pieces, different corners of the community have really helped, I think, shape the awards this year. And even just condensing the schedule, I think it was a good idea, a good suggestion to, and it'll actually make my life a little bit easier at the end of the year, because we were doing the award show in early December and in the middle of the holidays between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so we moved that up. Now we're doing it early in November. So before the craziness of the end of the year and all of the holidays. So it'll make things,
very smart.
It'll make things, easier from my perspective. So,
and I should add this to it, and I'm pretty sure most people know this. Brian self-funds this. This is something he doesn't do because he wants. It's not the Brian LCS Awards. It's the
right.
So, and that if you have the opportunity, do you still have sponsorships available?
Yes, we have a few. There's been, again, a lot of people have jumped in early on sponsorships. So and that really, the sponsorships really just help cover the cost of, the trophies. Because I keep saying, oh, we're not going to add any more categories. And each year we've added categories. So when you add a category, now you added another trophy or trophies, and, they cost money and we have to ship them out and all that stuff. So it adds up. So the sponsorships are a way to help just, support that cost and not having everything come out of my pocket.
And I'll say this too, that the sponsorships are relatively low cost. I mean, in my opinion, skip Spider-Man for a month. How about
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
that, and that was the other thing too, like a conscious decision not to make them. It's not a $500 donation. It's a $30 donation to sponsor the event. And I really the what do you get as being a sponsor? Well, we're just really highlighting whoever sponsors, on Instagram and shout outs and things like that. Just trying to thank them for their donation.
yeah,
But yeah, that just really just like I said, it really just offsets the cost of the awards.
and yeah, that's key. I mean, look, at the end of the day, this is a great task to go through. It's certainly very time intensive and money intensive. Hopefully it helps recoup the expenses here for you.
Yeah, no, it certainly has. Like I said, everybody has been. Last year we had, everything was sponsored, and I think I have to look. I think we only have maybe 5 or 6 categories that aren't sponsored as of yet, and we haven't really even kicked off. We're a couple weeks away before the nominations even kick off, so we're definitely well ahead of the schedule. So we're in good shape.
Good, good. Now let's see. So we've talked about the doctor. We've talked about CBC awards. I always had to. I had to stop myself. This is the first year I think I've got it right. 'Cause every time I was saying CBC awards, people are, you're talking about weed awards. I'm like, no, no, no. Common community. Because I think I kept saying CBCA. That's just on me.
Yeah,
But
no, I think it's yeah, a lot of people say that, and that's fine.
yeah. Hey, Chris Rock is a huge fan of the Chili Peppers because he thought he was going to a I think he thought he was going to a funk show, and it
Oh,
turns out he
really?
early shows. Yeah, if you go back in their awards acceptance speech when he introduced them, he kind of goes into
That's
that.
funny.
No matter how
That's
much,
funny.
no matter how many ways you get in, there's a way to get in.
Right? Yeah.
Now, last but not least, I know that you used to have a show on right before this, but now I'm pretty much sure everybody here knows. But just in case, where can people find you?
So yeah, we moved it. We moved my weekly live stream from Saturdays to Sundays. So we're a little bit earlier. We're at 9:45 a.m. Eastern. We used to be on at 10 a.m. But there's other Sunday lineup that happens on YouTube. Bleecker Street goes live at 10:45. So I didn't want to kind of bump into him. So we moved it. We moved it 15 minutes earlier. But yeah, so it's Brian LCS on YouTube and Brian LCS on Instagram, and then the CBC Awards. CBCAwards.org is the CBC Awards website. You can find all the information there. And on the website, too, we have a list of YouTube live streams, basically a clickable schedule that you can go in and find a live stream at any time. So, yeah, we had to move. And I moved because my wife my wife works in retail and she has Saturdays off. And so we want to do something on Saturday. It was kind of tough to do a live stream and get started in our day after 11. So that's why I kind of moved it. And then it happens to be that, like the last couple weekends, she's actually been scheduled on Saturday.
And
So
I'll say this too. I'll say this. It's not quite the same. I feel it, but if you can't watch live, there's always that recording afterwards. And Brian actually has some good incentive to watch the recording as well. I'm not going to spoil it because you'll have time right after this ends in just a few minutes to go back and watch Brian's recorded one from last week if you want then.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah, always doing some giveaways. Yeah.
yeah. 'Cause, I mean, I'll say this, like I've tried to structure things since my son was born where it's like, all right, I need at least one day on the weekend off of YouTube. So then when you said, oh, I'm moving to Sunday, I was like, okay, watch Brian and then no YouTube the rest of the day.
Well, thank you. Yeah, no, I try to do the same. Like in the evening, when I get home from work, and the fact that now the days are a little bit longer, a little more sunlight in the evenings, that I don't typically get to watch any YouTube until like after 8, at night, because I get home and then we're cooking dinner or doing stuff around the house or walking the dogs or doing whatever. And so if you have a live stream at 6 p.m. on on a weekday, it's most likely I will not be there, and that's just because I'm
Yeah.
out and about doing something else.
Yeah, and it's tough. Like I rush to get to Between the Lines on Mondays because we're just wrapping up dinner, and I don't want to be at dinner. My son is with me, my wife's with me. Let me put my phone on now. So
Right, right.
I feel it. Like I love watching the Monday guys. I watch you guys on the replay. I can't catch you live. It's right during dinner time,
Right.
unfortunately.
Yeah, Monday starts early, right? Izzy has his show at 6:30. Basically,
Yeah,
from 6:30 on until midnight, you can be watching content. So yeah,
yeah. And I mean, I'll say this: I've been a remote worker. There we go. I almost messed it up since March 2019. At this point, one of the advantages, yeah, I get to have YouTube going on in the background, on my phone, not on my work computer, of course, and that helps me catch up with some content. But if that changes, I don't know what's going to happen. So,
right, right, yeah.
but we're just about wrapped up. I've taken up an hour of everybody's time. I want to thank Brian for coming on, everybody, and Brian for, of course, just some background stuff that was going on this morning. Look, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and support Brian's Kickstarter. Like I said, there's 2 weeks to go. I mean, look, we have a good crew here. All these names I know are probably people who backed up already, but just in case, look, maybe you didn't get paid yet. That's perfectly fine. You've got time to do so. And of course, check out Breakfast with Brian Sunday mornings, 9:45 Eastern.
I'll be there. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me on and highlighting everything that I'm working on. I really, really appreciate it.
Well, anything we could do. And look, if you want to come on later on to do issue 2 or the next spinoff, let me know. I'll even shut down, let you have the whole hour.
Sounds good. And happy early anniversary and birthday. Enjoy your weekend next weekend. A weekend off from YouTube.
Yeah, that's the idea. So hopefully I'm able to stick to it. Well, for everybody else, thanks again for watching. Peace, love, and comics.